Hello students, today is Tuesday, October 27th, and today we will be discussing Unit 3, Lesson number 11, and our main topic today is going to be standard algorithm subtraction. Our learning target for today I will subtract multi-digit numbers using the standard algorithm. Now, we've been practicing on this a few times, a few days in the past week. Our essential questions: how do we make sense of larger numbers? How does understanding the value of digits help answer real-life math problems? And we're continuing to build upon our answers to these questions. We are going to have these same essential questions for the entire unit. So for this next problem, this is actually also on page number 161 of your book, page 161. And we're going to analyze this problem to find out where has there been a mistake made. Okay, so go ahead and turn to page 161 in your math binder and be prepared to help solve the problems inside of your binder. I go on and read the problem. Puzzled penguin. I was solving the following subtraction problem and got puzzled. I know my difference isn't quite right, but I can't figure out my mistake. Can you help me? So we're going to try to help the puzzled penguin to find his mistake in solving his problem. Okay, so let's take a few minutes. I'm going to pause. I want you to look at the problem inside of your book, again, page 161, and try to find the problem. And after you try to find it, then go on and try to solve it the correct way. So you've had an opportunity to go ahead and look at the problem and try to figure out the mistake that the puzzle penguin made, and also to try to solve the problem the correct way. Okay, let's take a look. So at the at the word problem itself, and we're going to go on and underline our question here. So can you help me? And we're going to try to figure out the mistake. Figure out the mistake here. Okay. All right. So 2,172 is our top number minus 1,491. And the answer that the puzzle penguin came up with was 1,321. So let's take a look. And we always start with the ones column with the smallest place value. And now it's going to be the 1. So 2 minus 1 is 1. So that one is correct. And now let's go to the tens column. We've got 7 minus 9 equals 2. So if you said that the problem is with the calculation in the tens column, you would be correct, because 7 minus 9 is not 2, because you can't subtract 9 from 7. Okay, so maybe he mistakenly thought it was 9 minus 7, but that is not the case right here. Okay, so with this one, the answer would not be 2 right here. So we're going to move the problem over to the side, and let's see, 2,172 minus 1,491. So we'll move it over here and try to solve it the correct way. All right, so in the ones column, we said 2 minus 1. That is correct. That is 1. 7 minus 9 is not correct. So that means that he actually has to ungroup from the hundreds column. So when he ungroups over here, that means that that 1 now becomes 0 in the hundreds, and that group of 10 comes over here, and that now becomes 17. Okay, let me make that a little better. I'm going to erase that. And this number now becomes 17. So you have 17 minus 9 is 8. Okay, so instead of that 2, that becomes 8 now. And so 0 minus 4, you cannot subtract 4 from 0, you can't have the bigger number at the bottom. So that means that now we have to do another ungrouping. So now we have to go to the thousands place to ungroup that. That 2 becomes 1, and you have a group of 10, another group of 10 hundreds that goes into the hundreds column, okay? So you're taking 100, 1,000, you're taking 1,000s away. So 1,000 is equivalent to 10 tens. So we're adding it to the 0 we already have over here, and that now becomes 10. So here in the hundreds column, you have now 10 minus 4, which is 6, and 1 minus 1 is 0. So we don't need to actually put a number right there because that has no value to it. Okay, so our answer 681. So now we're going to move on to the second one on that same page, page 161. This is the confused cheetah. I was solving the following subtraction problem and got confused. I don't think my difference is correct, but I can't figure out my mistake. Can you help me? So we're going to help find the mistake. So we're going to pause, and what I want you to do is go on and complete this one to figure out the mistake that was made by confused cheetah, and figure out what the mistake was, identify it, and then solve the problem correctly using the standard algorithm. I want you to do that for that one. Also for the next one, these are all on page 161. Mistaken monkey, you can do the same thing because there's a problem there, and I'll go on and read it. I was solving the following subtraction problem and am somehow mistaken. I know my difference isn't quite right, but I can't figure out my mistake. Can you help me? 2,172 minus 1,491. And if you can do the same thing for that one. And lastly, on the same page, the forgetful ferret. I was solving the following subtraction problem and forgot how to solve it. I tried my best and came up with this answer, but I can't figure out my mistake. Can you help me? And he's got 2,172 minus 1,491 equals 1,681. So they all made mistakes. They can't figure out what their mistake was, but they know that their answer is wrong. So your job is to do the rest of these, go on and figure out the mistake and make the corrections. So I'll pause for you guys to do that, and we'll solve them together. We'll go over them. So let's take a look at the confused cheetah. And the problem here is 2,172 minus 1,491. And the cheetah has an answer of 1,481. Let's find the mistake there. I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger. Okay. All right, so we start once again in the ones column. It's the smallest place value. So 2 minus 1 is 1. That is correct. And then you've got 7 minus 9. You can't do that. You can't subtract 9 from the 7. We learned that from the first problem. So you have to ungroup. Okay, so we've got what the cheetah did was went over to the hundreds column. So they ungrouped the 1, and of course it became, that hundreds column became a 0, and they took the 10 and they added to the 7, which is now 17. So you have 17 minus 9, and that answer is 8. So that one's correct. That one's correct. So now let's go to the hundreds column. So now in the hundreds column, 0 minus 4 is not 4. So the problem lies with the hundreds column. So the calculations with the hundreds column. So let's go on and we're going to write the problem over here. 2 minus 1,491. Okay, so the 2 minus 1 in the ones column is 1, and 7 minus 9. He couldn't do that, and Cheetah did that one correctly. He actually went over and ungrouped that 1. That became a 0. He took the group of 10 over here. 17 minus the 9 in the tens column is 8. He did that correct. And this was his mistake right here. So in actuality, what he needed to do was go to the thousands and ungroup. That becomes a 1, and that group 100 comes right there. So now you have 10 in the hundreds column, in the hundreds place value column, and you have 10 minus 4 should be 6. And again, 1 minus 1 is 0, so there's no need to really put the 0. It has no value. So again, our answer is 681 here. So we found a mistake. Okay, so now we are moving on to the mistaken monkey. And the problem for the mistaken monkey, again, same problem, 2,172 minus 1,491. We're still trying to identify the mistake. And 2 in the ones column, once again, we're starting there. 2 minus 1 is 1, that is correct. You've got 7 minus 9. The monkey knew that you couldn't do that. You had to ungroup, so the monkey ungrouped over here. And that 7 now becomes 17. So 17 minus 9, 8. That is correct. So now let's go on to the hundreds. The hundreds. So what happens here is that, okay, when he ungrouped the 1, that should have been a 0 right there. But he didn't ungroup the 1. He left the 1 there. So the problem is with the hundreds column on this one. So the problem is right here with the hundreds column, okay? So we're going to go on over on the other side and solve it together here. So 2 minus 1 in the ones column is 1. So 7 minus 9, it couldn't do that in the 10. So you went over here and ungrouped. So that should be a 0. When you ungroup that one group of hundreds right here, it becomes 0. And now you put the group of 10 tens. You put that over here. So that becomes 17 minus 9, 8. And now 0 minus 4, you cannot do that. So you have to go to the thousands place to ungroup. That becomes 1. This becomes 10 in the hundreds. So we have our same correct answer here, 681. So the mistake was with the hundreds column right here, okay? So finally, we're going to look at the ferrets problem. And same problem, same exact problem. So let's look at what the ferret did. Let's start with the ones column here. You got the 2 minus 1 is 1. That is correct right there. And then you have 7 minus 9. He knew that he couldn't do that, so he had to ungroup, go to the hundreds column and ungroup. So when you go over here to the hundreds column, you should ungroup this 1. That should become a 0. And over here becomes 17. Okay, which looks like he gets the 17, so that becomes 17 minus 9 is 8. So over here in the hundreds column, you got we used the 0 to ungroup, and we used the 1 to ungroup in the hundreds, so that was originally a 0. 0 minus 4, remember we said we could not do that, so then you have to go to the thousands to ungroup. That comes a 1. So he's got 20 here instead of 10. So the problem with this one becomes in the hundreds column. When he ungrouped the hundreds, he turned that, when he ungrouped the thousands to the hundreds, he, instead of making it 10, he made it 20. So that was the problem there. On our next slide here, we've got a problem. It says 12,605 minus what number? There's no number right here. Equals 4,967. So your job on this one is to find the missing number. So let's find the missing number. How do you do that? Finding the missing number, and you can use, I want you to be able to click on our base 10 blocks that we practiced with before. So you can utilize this if you want to help you to solve the problem. So you just click there, it brings you to a different screen. So build your numbers like we practiced before to help you solve this particular problem. And I'll pause and give you an opportunity to try to solve that one in your notebook. Okay, so you've had an opportunity to try to figure out the answer to this particular problem. So you're trying to find out, well, what is the missing number that goes right here? So what goes in this spot down here? Okay, 12,605 minus what number equals 4,967? 967. Now, one simple way to figure out the answer to that, of course, you could use your base 10 blocks to build a number, to build this number, and then take away how many ever that you need to get this number. Okay, so if you built this number on the left, the 12,605, and then you just took away, subtracted as many as you need to get to this number, that will give you your answer. Now, another way to do that is to solve the problem is to do a simple subtraction. Okay, if you said 12,605 minus this number, then that would actually give you, this number would give you the number that goes right here, okay? Because the relationship between subtraction and addition will allow you to be able to do that. So we're going to go and subtract it. 5 minus 7 in the ones column. We're not able to do that because it's such a bigger number right here, okay? So next up, you've got to, you go to the 0, you can't do that. Okay, so that becomes 59 right here. So that's going to require us to do a couple of different ungrouping here. So you can't say 5 minus 7 once again because the top number is smaller than the bottom. So now you need to go to your 100 to tens place and try to ungroup that. But you can't do it because right now there's nothing in there. There's 0. Okay, so then you can go to the next highest place value, which is the 100. So we go to the hundreds. We're going to borrow 100, one group of 100 from over here. That makes that 10. But when you ungroup from the hundreds, you still have to add it to the tens place, the one right next to it. So you have 10. You have 10 in the tens place now. Okay, so now we have something to work with. So now it's almost like starting over. So now we're going to ungroup the 10. We're going to ungroup the 10 now. And let's see here. When we ungroup this 10, that becomes 9. Okay. And we ungroup that, and that group of 10 comes over here. So you have the 1 here. Okay. So just a couple steps to get where we need it to be. So 15 minus 7 is 8. And now 9 minus 6, 3. And so you have 5 minus 9. You can't do that because 9 is a bigger number. So now we need to go over here to the thousands place, and we ungroup that. That becomes 1. This becomes 15, so that is 6. And now to the thousands place, 1 minus 4. You can't do that, so we need to ungroup to the 10,000s place. That becomes 0, and this becomes 11. So 11 minus 4 is 7. So 7,638 is our answer. 7,638 is our answer. And I don't mind if you use a calculator to double check your work on this one. So moving on, a couple slides down, we have an exit ticket for grade on page 163 in your binder, in your math binder. I want you to go on, and you're going to work on that independently. Go on and work on page 163, complete the entire page. Complete the entire page, and then I want you to take a picture of your work on page 163. And when you take a picture of your work on that particular page, I want you to go in and add it to this slide. Okay, so you can insert your image, take a picture of it, and then you can insert it right here. Remember, we used to insert and then image, and you're gonna get now you can actually use the camera right here to take your picture. Okay, so you can use this camera to take a picture of your work, and then it'll insert automatically, or if you've already got it on your computer, you just have to find it, upload it from your computer. Okay, so you do that independently for a grade, and after you finish that one, guys, there's more practice. We're going to go back to page 162. So there's more practice on page 162. On this page, complete all of page 162 in your binder. Make sure to take a picture of your work And this time you're going to just add it to your assignment on Google Classroom. Okay. So this time for page 162, you're going to finish that page, take a picture of it, and add it to your assignment on Google Classroom. And our last slide here is, okay, finishing up page 162. And remember the exit ticket on page 162, that should be turned in. If you are here on our live session, you should make sure you turn that in before the end of the session. If you haven't, if you're not on the live, you're going to go on and make a picture of that and add it to the actual slide. So I'll make sure to add that on there. So that's 162 and 163. And also I'll practice on Dreambox. Okay.